Greetings, mate. I have told you of the War of the Ninepenny Kings, which was a fifth Blackfyre Rebellion. But what of the other four? What of Blackfyres and other Great Bastards? So I shall tell you a little more. The bastard sons and daughters born to Aegon IV Targaryen, known as the Unworthy, from noblewomen, were known as Great Bastards because they were legitimized by their father on his deathbed. One of them was Daemon Waters, later in life known as Daemon I Blackfyre. Daemon was the bastard son of Aegon IV Targaryen and his first cousin, Daena the Defiant, the infamous daughter of Aegon IV Targaryen. He was conceived during Daena's imprisonment in the Maiden Vault. Daemon was raised in the Red Keep and was taught arms by Sir Quentyn Ball, the master at arms at the Red Keep. The identity of his father was kept secret until his 12th birthday, when Daemon distinguished himself during a tourney melee by besting a score of other squires. Afterwards, his father, King Aegon IV, acknowledged Daemon as his bastard son and presented him with Blackfyre, the Valyrian steel sword of Targaryen kings. Daemon attracted many followers with his martial skill and his possession of Blackfyre. He was called the King who bore the sword. Many who disliked the Dornish influence and academic nature of Daeron's court preferred Daemon's rugged charisma and apathy toward learning and religion. According to Sir Eustace Osgrey of Standfast, all the great knights of the realm gathered to him. Another great bastard was Aegor Rivers, later in life known as Bittersteel. He was a son of King Aegon IV Targaryen by his fifth mistress, Lady Barba Bracken. Aegor was angry all of his life and quickly irritated and offended. He did not smile and especially laughed his younger half-brother, Brendon Rivers, and Brendon's mother, Melissa Blackwood, who had replaced Aegor's mother, Barba Bracken, as their father's mistress. Aegor loved Brendon, who was known as Bloodraven, even further when Shira Seastar, their beautiful half-sister and a fellow great bastard, chose Brendon over him. Their other half-brother, Daemon Blackfyre, agreed to wed his daughter Calla to Aegor. Aegor often urged Daemon to suppress his own claim to the Iron Throne. Then there was Sir Brendon Rivers, called Lord Bloodraven, who was another legitimized great bastard of Aegon IV Targaryen, and Melissa Blackwood, the king's sixth mistress. Brendon was a Targaryen loyalist during the Blackfyre Rebellions, the hand of Aerys I and Maekar I Targaryen, and the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch afterwards. Shira Seastar, another great bastard of Aegon IV, was his mistress. Bloodraven was thought to be a sorcerer, an albino. Brendon had milk-white skin, long white hair, and red eyes. On the right side of his face he had a red wine-stained birthmark that extended from his throat up to his right cheek, from which he earned his name Bloodraven, as the birthmark was said to look somewhat like a raven drawn in blood. Brendon lost an eye during the first Blackfyre Rebellion and rarely covered the empty socket with a patch, preferring to display his scar and empty socket to the world. He wore his white hair straight and to his shoulders, with the front brushed forward to cover his missing eye though. As Lord Bloodraven, Brendon was rumored to be a sinister sorcerer who effectively ruled the kingdom with the spies and spells. A strong warrior, Brendon carried the Valyrian steel sword Dark Sister, but preferred to use his weirwood longbow and was an expert archer. He served on the small council of his half-brother, Daeron II Targaryen. Mia and Gwenys Rivers, also great bastards, were the sisters of Brendon Rivers. After Daemon was legitimized, he inverted the Targaryen arms for his coat of arms and named the house after the sword Blackfyre that his father gave him when he was 12. The sword has been the personal weapon of the first Targaryen king, Aegon the Conqueror, and all his successors. Daemon was granted a tract of land along the Blackwater Rush and the right to build a keep there by his half-brother Daeron II Targaryen. During events that are now known as the First Blackfyre Rebellion, Daemon and his friends and allies revolted against Daeron II Targaryen, his half-brother, using the old rumor that Daeron was the son of Aemon the Dragon Knight instead of King Aegon IV Targaryen, and that the gift of the ancestral weapon Blackfyre proved that Aegon wanted Daemon to succeed him. Ultimately, the Blackfyre Rebellion failed in the Battle of the Redgrass Field. Daemon broke Lord Aeryn's van in the battle, slaying Vil Vainwood and the Knight of the Nine Stars, and severely injuring Sir Gawain Corbray of the Kingsguard. While protecting his fallen foes, Daemon and his two eldest sons, Aemon and Aegon Blackfyre, were slain by his great bastard half-brother, Brynden Rivers, known as Bloodraven, and the Raven's Thief, Bloodraven's company of longbowmen. Daemon's remaining sons fled to the free cities of Assos with his principal supporter, Aegor Rivers, known as Bittersteel, another great bastard of King Aegon IV. When Aegor saw all the exiled lords and knights signing on with other sellsword companies and saw the support of House Blackfyre ebbing away, he created his own sellsword company, the Golden Company. The Second Blackfyre Rebellion was the second attempt of the Blackfyre pretenders to claim the Iron Throne. The failed plot began at White Walls, where the Hedge Knight known as Sir John the Fiddler was revealed to be Daemon's second Blackfyre during a wedding tourney. News spread throughout the castle that Lord Brynden Rivers, Hand of the King, was marching on the castle with 3 of the King's Guard, his 300 Raven's Teeth, and 500 knights and 5,000 infantry from the Crownlands and Riverlands. Daemon called for those within the castle to fight to the death but was laughed off by the fighting men. Daemon then marched out and offered single combat but was taken prisoner by Lord Rivers, thus ending the Second Rebellion before it actually began. Daemon was kept as a prisoner to prevent Bittersteel, who had refused to give Daemon the sword Blackfyre, nor had taken part in the rebellion, from crowning Daemon's younger brother, Haegon. So, Bittersteel launched a new invasion after crowning Haegon I Blackfyre, the fourth-born son of Daemon I Blackfyre. This new invasion took place late in the reign of King Aerys I Targaryen, who was not interested in the details of ruling. The king's younger brother, Prince Maekar Targaryen, on the other hand, showed his leadership during the conflict. His son, Prince Aerion, fought in the war as well, as did young Prince Aegon, showing his courage. The Third Blackfyre Rebellion featured the second duel between Bittersteel and his half-brother, Brynden Rivers. At the end of the final battle, the pretender, Haegon I, was dishonorably killed after he had surrendered and had given up his sword. Bittersteel was taken captive and brought in chains to the Red Keep in King's Landing, where Aerion and Bloodraven urged Aerys I to have Aegor executed. While Bittersteel was found guilty of high treason, the king spared his life and ordered that Bittersteel be sent to the wall instead of facing execution. The rebels learned of Bittersteel's fate, as there were still many Blackfyre friends at court who were willing to inform Aegor's supporters. The ship carrying Aegor to the Night's Watch was taken in the Narrow Sea, while on the way to Eastwatch by the Sea, and Bittersteel was freed and returned to the sellsword company he had founded, the Golden Company. Bittersteel returned to Tyrosh, and before the year had ended, he crowned Haegon's eldest son, Daemon. Thus, the Blackfyre plotting continued. After the death of King Maekar I Targaryen, there was no definitive heir to ascend the throne, so the Hand of the King, Lord Bloodraven, called a great council. Aenys Blackfyre, writing from exile, put forth his claim to the Iron Throne. Lord Brendon offered him safe conduct to King's Landing, so Aenys could present his claim in person, and as soon as Aenys entered King's Landing, he was seized by the Goldcloaks and dragged to the Red Keep, where he was executed. His head was presented to the Lords of the Great Council as a warning to any who might still have Blackfyre sympathies. The Great Council chose Maekar's son to succeed as King Aegon V Targaryen, whose first act was to arrest Bloodraven for the murder of Aenys Blackfyre. It was suggested by Maester Aemon that Brynden Brendon was imprisoned in the Red Keep's dungeons. Brendon argued that he had sacrificed his honor for the good of the realm, but Aegon V refused to set Brendon free. He did offer the option of taking the Black instead of death, which Brendon accepted. When Maester Aemon, first son of King Maekar I Targaryen, sailed for the Wall, he was escorted by King Aegon V's friend, Sir Duncan the Tall of the Kingsguard, and accompanied by an honor guard of recruits for the Night's Watch. These were 200 men and prisoners, among them Brynden Rivers and archers from his Raven's Teeth. Brynden rose to the position of Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. However, he disappeared while ranging. Daemon Blackfyre led the 4th Blackfyre Rebellion, landing at Messie's Hook. The rebellion had little support, however, as people fought the Blackfyres to be done. At the Battle of Wentwater Bridge, Sir Duncan the Tall slew Daemon Blackfyre. Bittersteel retreated across the Narrow Sea again, and the war was quickly over. A few years after the Wentwater Bridge, Aegor reappeared in the disputed lands, where he fell during a skirmish between Tirosh and Ymir. On his deathbed, he commanded the men of the Golden Company to boil the flesh from his skull, dip it in gold, and carry it before them when they crossed the Narrow Sea to retake Westeros. The captains general who have since led the Golden Company have followed Aegor's example. According to Illyrio Mopatis, the Blackfyre were extinguished in the male line when Maelys Blackfyre was slain during the War of the Ninepenny Kings, which is considered 5th Blackfyre Rebellion. What happened to the Blackfyre female line is currently not known. Thank you for the attention. I'll drink for your health.